We're here now. You read that correctly. I was like, the process, the loading, the completion, it's all right here. Wimby is in the finals, and I was like, I was debating on should I wait till after he makes the till if he wins the finals, or go ahead beforehand. And not that I think it matters that much, but unless he gets like totally like either like blown out, take it to the wood chipper on, in the same way, who I'm going to use as an example in this is LeBron when he went to the finals. Then or he just puts up duds or stinkers. I think it goes without saying that even then, because of the amount of glazing we give Wimby, that wouldn't matter because then we would just be on. He would come back twice as strong and be on a revenge tour of sorts. But anyway, the point of this whole video is basically talking about how Wimby is a beloved darling. He's the new face. Uh, what could have been the best possible scenario is for him to be in the finals, and that is from anyone that is a fan of the NBA, anyone that has money into the NBA, Adam Silver, the commissioner, all of them. Anything that has to do with the NBA and being in the spotlight of some sorts. This is the best thing that could have happened to them. I was like a guy who I was like, while I was like in some form, it's like yes, he's not known necessarily to casual people, but it won't be long until he is. I was like, he's a 7'6", like crazy athlete, phenomenon guy. I was like he will be known internationally in America. He does things. The only thing that he hasn't gotten to yet is basically the commercial ability of it all. And that might take a minute. It took Giannis a little while to get to doing commercials and stuff like that. But I don't think it would be that far from it. Depending on what he wants to do. Now, with that being said, I was like, he's the new Glaze. He's the new goon named sensation. He is, and the reason I'm saying it in those type of ways is because we don't really get too many NBA players in a way where it can be met amongst all the people I sort of was talking about. On some hands, I was like it's it's some people in like the analytic crowd. It is some people who just comes in and watch. It is some people who might know somebody by name. It might just be somebody who is just able to just be like, oh, they got some like they able to recognize them stuff. There's different avenues where it's like you might hit a group here and there, but I think he's enough, you know, of able to be put into like multiple categories of people who find him beloved. And throughout, to be honest, I was like from the time I will say I've really been into basketball. I was like, I'm not going to go. I'm not a historian in that type of way to be like, oh well, in 1983. Nope, that's not what I'm doing. But to me, even then, I have to really sort of say that, outside of placeholders, like I feel like uh Jordan and stuff like that, like which was a little bit still before me, um, is that Wimby is like I was like outside of early Steph Curry, I will say Steph Curry early in the days, I think it's been like the only guy that hit this mark amongst everybody. I was like, you can't really say LeBron because I was like, LeBron, while yes, he got into that spot, it wasn't crazy long until everything also started turning for him in a way that I was like, it's like, he was beloved, and then it sort of died out. Even before he sort of got to Miami, it was already starting to wane down. Um, I was like, but Steph Curry being like the unanimous MVP, I feel like was like the first time of this really peaking, where it was like like early on, the fans loved him because I was like the way he was shooting threes, he was being crazy with it, and he came out of nowhere. Everybody thought, he's just a kid from Davidson and stuff like that. And then, team rose. Nobody was liking. I was like, nobody was. Everybody's off the LeBron train, pretty much. You either are like he's the greatest, or you got some type of criticism about him. So Curry coming through and basically dismantling him, I was like, that pretty much was like already like usurped him in there. Yet alone, I was like him. I was like with the whole analytics boom of it, like taking threes, none of this mid range stuff anymore. Even though his threes was technically a bad shot, especially like at this time that we just didn't know what Curry had in his capabilities, and then he was able to flip that on his head. But him along with that team, I was like, to me, what's the first single in this? I was like, no, I was like, yes, because I was like, cause this is where I was like, cause I was thinking about somebody like else, and I was like, oh, maybe like D Rose, but I was like, not really. Also, I was like, the game. I was like, to people like watching, it was great. The people who didn't like LeBron, you got that crowd and stuff like that. But the whole like numbers and sort of being like inefficient at the time, and it's just like them playing defense when people was like, I was like, it was everybody still liked defense, but I was like the way Tibbs and all them were running down, but it really was more hatred toward LeBron than I was like. I also feel like about this Simon D Rose, but he's somebody like an honorable mention. And then after that, there really wasn't anybody else. I was like KD. It was really just like I was like people. I was like everybody liked KD, but you know, it he didn't have that extra amount that I was like it was with Curry until like I was like, even though everybody wanted Curry to be done with, because they were like, okay, they're being too good now. Can somebody beat them? And then we see how that goes. Harden, it was really just like, oh, can somebody beat Curry? But it's like nobody didn't necessarily like his game and stuff like that. And also, I will say that I would with all these people that what Wemby has that they don't have, and what I think makes it different is the fact of a not just a but like being like loved by so many people, but also like saving the game. Cause I'm like that's what Wimby has right now. He has what everybody is of like saving the game. I was like, look at the way he plays. I was like, he plays in the All Star game. He bringing defense back. He really wants to win. Look at all the stuff that he's doing, or whatever. And like that's like, look at what he's doing with the monks. Look at it. I was like, the nuns are showing out. And to be honest, if it was like pretty much any other kind of player, we probably would be like, oh, I'm tired of this stick, corny or whatever. If Jaden Tatum was doing this, guess what? It'd be jokes and memes all day. Um, but yeah, there really hadn't been that many people, and I want to say until it really got, I was like, Luca had it for a bit. Luca also had it for a bit because right now everybody sort of just like I'm not saying people don't like Luca, but after how he went down in the finals, everybody talking about the way he cries when he doesn't get the foul and he doesn't play defense, all that type of stuff. That Luca's not held with the shine in the eye that he once did. But when he was drafted, and for like those first like 3 or so years, and also even before he was drafted, you was already sort of hearing stuff about him, and it was already sort of like this guy is going to take the league by storm. He's going to win a couple MVPs and all this other stuff, and he did sort of take the league. I would like the league by storm because it was like, he was coming in and he was very effortless. I was like, but as you've seen, that didn't really materialize, and now it's starting. He's just starting to be a little faded. He was like the first, where it was like, kind of like he was Wemby before Wemby of like this accolade, this prodigy, this I was like overseas. You're hearing whispers about him and stuff like that. When he comes over here, he's going to be crazy at such a young age and take over. And Lucas sort of did do that. I was like, if you go and look at him and how he played in the playoffs and was taking some of them teams and stuff like that, he was doing a lot more with less. And then guess what? Now it looks like he's like I was like, he doesn't take care of his body. I was like, too many people enable him. They let him loose and all this other stuff. That's why he got traded. Those type of things. Wemby's not like that. No, because Wemby's tough. You see him doing all those water aerobics and stuff like that. Him training with Navy SEALs. Look at him. Yeah, that's what I want for my. I was like Kobe Jordan mentality. I was like he lost that one time and he never lose again. Now, then the one that I think that I was like, I think really was like the topper in all this, where it was like the amount of glaze to a glazed donut was Jokic. Because even though Giannis was winning MVPs, that soured very quickly, and basically in the name of, you heard about this guy in Denver, Nikola Jokic. I was like, number 15, Carmelo Anthony? No, not him. Who cares about him? We don't know him. But Nikola Jokic is somebody that you need to know about. Okay, what's going on? And then after that, it was like, even though I was like, to me, I was like, he was getting talked about in the playoff bubble and all this. Like, people are already talking about him. And I was like, really? The dude that's basically second fiddle to Jamal Murray? Whatever. People could say, I was like, you're not really into the numbers of basketball. Whatever. But during that time, I was like, okay, cool. Whoever talking about this Jokic. Then he came out of nowhere and he's like, look at this big man. He can pass. Look at him. He can triple doubles. You see him. And I was like, yeah. I was like, he's not really doing too much in the playoff because he doesn't have any help. Okay. All right. Cool. 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 I was like, all right. To the point where it was like, do we give him the third MVP or should we not? I was like, he's already top 10 in my book. As a matter of fact, he's the best one ever. He was getting all those type of calls and type of already putting them into like putting his placard on the wall and stuff like that. And to me, that's where we're already with Wemby. You remember when we were like Jokic was already better than the Kareem? I was like, he's only third to pretty much LeBron and Michael Jordan, if that. Like, people were having some conversations. People have been having some. It wasn't until this season, especially this playoffs, that people were like, you think we went a little bit overboard with that? And hey, I sort of been here. Like, don't get me wrong. I was late on the Jokic train or whatever, and I got there and I was like, cool, I see what y'all talking about. But at the same time, I was like, y'all were going overboard. And I was like, that's what I just can't do. Man, it's crazy. It's almost like there's another tall center guy that we're doing this to where it's like, hey, he's already the greatest player we've ever seen. And it's like, really? We're already here. We're doing this. He hadn't won anything, and and guess what? Hey, he got himself into the finals, and that's why I said the process is pretty much complete. Because just like LeBron, when he was 22 and was able to take that team to the finals and play the Spurs, yes, I was like it was 4-0. He got routed. It was done. It was over with. Boom shakalaka. This can also happen to Wemby. It could, and if this is, I was like, and if this happens, keep watching the video like normal. If not, then hey, I was like, and he wins. Guess what? This builds even so more my case that the glazing is here of being like, hey, man, I was like, he can do it all. 7'6". Do you see the gravitational pull that he has on defense? You don't even want to go near the basket. Why would you go near the basket? Because you have a behemoth there. You see the way that he can dribble? It's like Kevin Durant had a baby with like another tall person. Let's go with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because he's great. And then they was over here like, you know what he can do? He could shoot crossover. I was like, he could jump. He could dunk on anybody and all this other stuff. He's the greatest thing we ever seen. He's a creative player. If you had a creative player, would you not create it like Wemby? You would. I don't even know why we're asking questions. He's going to win 10 championships. He's going to win all the MVPs. Why are you? I was like, just get on board. Nobody wants to be like the last person on here or whatever like that. That's where we're at. There's nothing you can say. I was like, and to be honest, he was a lot closer to me to winning the MVP than I was like. I feel like even the numbers sort of show that. I think that if he wouldn't have been on a minutes restriction or got hurt a little bit early at the beginning of the year, or I was like, especially once OKC was sort of having a turn, he probably would have been the MVP. I think it just held off because I was like, you even had a little like. Well, that goes a little bit more on my MVP thinking or whatever like that. Like, I feel like give Shea his second one because Wemby's going to take them all. So I was like, look, my whole point in being in this is that we're here. I was like, because And the reason I picked mainly Curry and Jokic is because the way those two were playing and the way that they got an, especially Curry. Curry got sort of an early start to his of a like career of like he would win a championship and it was like boom, 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 boom. Jokic hadn't had that, but Jokic's been able to keep up with his stats and like the numbers and being basically like the best player on the floor, stuff like that. That they was able to keep it at a high barometer that people were already putting them in the greatest of all time, like top 10 already, without really there being any real debate. To be honest, like you couldn't go a day or much of the season. I was like, and they were the top players. So I was like, it's not that I'm even mad that you are talking about your top dudes in the sport. I was like, it's just one of them things where it's like there's no could, there's no if, there's no. It's like if there's a win, and I was like, and I don't understand what's the need to put this out into the universe in a way that is like it's not really beneficial to you. You ain't manifesting something for yourself. You're just really just talking about like this is what it is. Now, I'm not saying that he's not somebody that we're not going to have to prepare for. He's not going to be somebody that you don't have to take seriously. That he's going to be here. I was like, this is his league. But I also think that I'm like the way we've seen new champions year after year now. I was like, we have seen people who was like, there had a really, I was like, how they've done Jokic, yes, but there really hasn't been that LeBron, Steph, and I was like KD. I was like at a time where it's like they're at the top and this is who it is. It's sort of been like, it's my turn, it's my turn, it's my turn. It's Wemby going to break that. To everybody else, yes. Didn't you know he's going to win 10? Anyway, I was like, I don't even really have a question here of like anything. Do you think Wemby great? I guess. Do you think that he's going to not only to pull out the final, but is he going to pull off several here? Rattle them all off. Do you think the glaze is too much already? Now I was like, I'll put this in the video. Of like, hey, if they win the finals, then I'll have a different video. Cause guess what? It's going to be the summer of Wemby. Past, just talking about the winners of the championship. But it's going to be talked about on a different level because he's already, if he wins the championship, he's going to be placed already in some conversations. Past, just media talk, he's going to be placed in there. But yes, I was like, he's the new goon. I was like, casual fans know him, NBA fans love him, the media love him, the numbers and analytic people love him, the commissioner loves him. It's great for the NBA. They have somebody to place on their thing. Yes, it is the era of Wemby. Anyway, let me know what y'all think. Till then, peace. I'm out.